All right. Thank you, ladies. So we're so excited to have, I guess you can call it our last unofficial session, just so we can enjoy the summer. Welcome to, I think this is the fourth or third social networking session and the panel discussion with Maya, with Yemi Carey, and with Lee. And Lee is okay, right? Not Lee. Lee is okay.
Liba, yeah.
Libe, okay, with Libe. So as we start the session, we're going to kindly ask the panelists to introduce themselves for 5 minutes. Just tell us their story, who they are, and then we will pose some questions to the panelists, and then we'll leave it open for our awesome African women investor ladies to ask a question. So I guess we said, since we have two people in Toronto, we will start with Maya. Maya, would you like to please give us a 5-minute presentation of who you are, what you do, and anything you need us to know? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate this opportunity. Just by way of introduction, my name is Maya Dameka. I'm currently in Toronto, as Hannah just mentioned. Originally from Ethiopia and moved back here from having worked in East Africa for a good, 4 or so years. So I have about a little over 15 years of experience working in consulting project finance and export finance in the US, Canada, the UK, and most recently in Kenya. I recently have been doing quite a bit of work with entrepreneurs in East Africa, which has been really fascinating and enlightening, and thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to participate in this program because I saw that there was a great need for additional capital to support early stage entrepreneurs. And I also see considerable value in diversity amongst capital allocators. So here I am in this program, loving it, just really inspired by everyone who's here. So thank you for that. And that's my introduction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maya. Could we now have Yemi Carey, if you could please introduce yourself? Thank you. Yemi, you're muted. Yemi? Uh-oh. Okay, I'm not sure. Yemi, can you hear us? Okay, maybe as we get Yemi to unmute herself, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here with you and on this platform. Just sharing a bit about our story. So I am Liba Chanel. I am originally from Cape Town, South Africa. Now living in Canada. We are launching a early stage, basically supporting early stage female entrepreneurs. Investing in them with capital and technical assistance. So our fund's called the Kazi Capital, and we will be investing around 25,000 to 100,000 US dollars in various early stage ventures across the continent. So because I'm from South Africa, South Africa is kind of where we will be starting to roll out our investments, but we're also looking opportunistically at Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, and then wherever else we can find some on the ground partners and develop some good deal flow. And the way we're looking to approach it is also from a sector agnostic viewpoint. As much as everyone loves tech and scalability of tech, we know that a lot of female entrepreneurs aren't necessarily operating in those sectors. So we're really interested in the food space, in the agro-processing space. We're looking at, lifestyle businesses that also have scale and that can maybe go into other markets. So there is a scalability factor, but not necessarily, only looking at the tech side. And the way we're actually approaching raising our fund is from a crowd angle. So as opposed to, the traditional high net worth and institutional capital being the base of capital that, people tap into, we're really looking to open up access to the fields of impact investing and investing in early stage ventures by leveraging blockchain technology. So the way it'll work is we will issue a token And basically that token is then your share of ownership in our fund. And then once we've kind of pooled all that capital, we would have a base of capital from which we would be investing in various businesses. And, as kind of cash flows start to come in and we start to realize some exits, we're able to then issue dividends and give cash flow back to our investors. And so doing, the token price would increase, and that's how your investment increases. So we are hoping, for most of our investors to be on a longer time horizon. But I guess the beauty of the token is that we also have created this kind of secondary liquid market. So it's not that you're tied into a fund for 10 years, which would be the traditional case. So yeah, that's just a bit about Akazi Capital and what we're looking to do. And just really excited about the next few months. So the plan was to maybe within 6 to 12 months go on a road and try and raise a larger fund. But we've got quite a bit of advanced interest, and especially some interest from some crypto investors who have, committed to our fund. So we're actually looking out and rolling out a fundraise campaign within the next month to 2 months, and doing a smaller fund, so more like a pilot fund, just to prove our model, prove the thesis, and then get the crowd really excited about what we've been able to accomplish, and then go on and raise another fund after that. So that's Akazi Capital.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to ask you questions about the crypto and funding. That's like the new age of funding. So, but before we get to you, could we please have Yemi? It's all okay now? Are you able to? There you are. Yemi, if you would like to please.
Yes, I'm struggling with my network, so I'm just going to go off video so that I
understand.
Yeah. So I'm struggling with my network, so I'll just go off video so that I can go through this.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. So my name is Yemi Kerry. I run an information communications technology firm. I'm also the co-founder for Rising Tide Africa. We're a group of female angel investors. We are using our time. We spend our time, our money, and our network to build the ecosystem of owned, female-led, and gender-diverse startups. We've been doing this since 2017. We have grown organically, and we are now about 62 members in the network. We've done 15 investments to date, and we have been planning our fund for upwards of almost when we started off Rising Tide. We have taken a stint at the Mauritius, incorporation, and it didn't work for us. We have now decided to go it our own way, starting up, it's called the Rita Fund, and we're starting it off in next quarter. And I think we'll discuss more about it during this session. And that's it from me.
Well, thank you so much, Yemi. Well, whilst we have you, because, we just kind of learned a bit about Mauritius in Model 10 of our course. So if you don't mind,
yes,
you have gone through that process, could you give us our first question to you? And if I can just let the audience know, please feel free, after like 15 minutes of engaging with our panelists, we'll bring it open to the audience. So you're welcome to type your questions, or of course, unmute yourself and ask in about 15 minutes. Please explain your story with what happened with Mauritius. What does your own way mean? Is it Nigeria? Is it Europe? And then the Rita Fund. Please explain.
Okay, so when we started off and we wanted to have a fund, it was mainly because we had Rising Tide Europe and Rising Tide US want to come into the African market, and the model they run is Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, and they just run on funds. And we as Rising Tide Africa looked at the ecosystem, and we thought, okay, we could do with some additional money and come, and co-invest. But from the onset, they were looking at, $100 million fund. Now, to me, that was huge. And I had just come into the space. So we said, okay, let's try and see how does it work. And by that time we had started to have the managers, which were going to be ARM, and we had started, trying to organize this. But you see, what's the managing the fund economics, as we were taught in Model 9, is for real. First of all, I started hearing things about carry. So in my own mind, or in our own mind, it was that we set up this fund, we pull in money, and then we start to invest. We were so focused on the startups and building the ecosystem. But then from ab initio, they started talking about the carry will be so percent, also that it doesn't make any economic sense. So because we said, let us do a 10 million $10 million fund. Let's make it smaller, And we went to Mauritius. We tried to incorporate. We gone into getting the fund managers out there to incorporate the company. Everything was set. And then they said, we have to run the economics. That the economics does not work. Wow. That was the first time I heard about economics does not work. And so they said we had to do a model. And we developed this model. We had to pay for that. And then we were now putting in the amounts of monies that we were going to pay, fund manager, the directors, that when you incorporate in Mauritius, the company that incorporates for you gets you 2 directors from Mauritius. You have to pay them a certain amount. You have to pay them a certain amount. We started negotiating on that. And then the next thing was that the fund managers, the administrators' money. So I'm saying, why is this thing so upfront cost capital intensive? We haven't even gotten to how we're going to even.
How can you give us a range?
Pardon me?
Can you give us a range, if you can't tell us how much, just to have an understanding of what kind of cost you're talking about?
Oh dear, I can't remember. That was in 2017, 2018. I can't remember. While others are talking, I'll try and pull up the document.
Okay.
Because so yeah, we negotiated between 3 or 4 fund managers and institutions. I mean, everything is so structured for this in Mauritius. And for us, coming from Africa, coming from our own background, we didn't see that added value for us to expend this kind of money. At least it was going to be, all in all, it was going to be at least, I think, $13,000 to $20,000 upfront.
Wow.
Before you start to now pull in the funds, and then for them to invest, they take a carry. Then the issue of carry now started. Wow. So it just was too bogus for us. And we were only 1 or 2 years into the ecosystem. We are just learning about all of these things. Before I started this, we didn't hear, I never knew anything about angel investing. Before I was Lagos Angel Network involved, invited for pitches. And so we now decided, look, it's not going to work. Let's drop this. This is bigger than us. Let's start, let's continue with what we're doing. Because what we're doing then was during the deal days, inviting the startups, let them pitch, we decide which ones we want to invest in. We select, so we had just started that process. So we agreed with Rising Tide Europe that by the time we are mature enough, then we will call you in and then we will start the fund.
Okay.
Now, you said, what is our own fund?
Yes.
So we sort of moved away from all of this Mauritius because we're talking about, and then of course, as we started to grow, we started seeing that one of the critical things was that we wanted to do cross-border investments, because Rising Tide Africa is about investing in it's Pan-African, it's about investing in Africa. And so we said, okay, let's, just slow down. So we said, okay, let's start with the pilot fund. And we called it the Rita Fund. And for the last 2 years, we have been building on it up to when we got to this stage. First of all was in terms of structure. What kind of structure were we going to have? Now, are we going to pay this? So we started discussing with fund managers. Yes. And they were already talking about carry. And so that's one rubbed off on us again. And we said, okay, even though we are calling it a fund, let's look at it as a major investment vehicle.
Yeah.
Can we also look at it in realistic terms about what is going on in the world, what is going on the continent, and whether we have these available resources, or can we also do a pilot of our own model, such that if it succeeds, then we can then go on and do follow-on funds and make it bigger. So what we are doing is a $1 million fund. Right? We have scratched out anything to do with carry.
Okay. And you're targeting...
Right? Because our focus really is on...
Sorry?
We're targeting startups. Now, so as Rising Tide, yes, we're targeting startups.
Okay.
What we have done so far, we have seen that there is a gap. We have been seeing a repeated ask of follow-on funds or bridge loans from our investor, from the investment pool, pipeline. And we are saying, so there is a funding gap between, when the real angels are investing, that is between $10,000 and $150,000. When you start to look for 250, 300, 700, these are too tiny. They are too small for the VCs and the PEs. And they are sort of too large for the angel investors. So we said, look, let's build let's have a fund that will take care of this funding, this gap that we are beginning to see in the market, so that we could also see a possible exit after we have invested in these follow-on rounds, because then our deals will be ready for the VCs and will be at that growth stage to be attractive enough for them. So our deals within this fund will serve as a pipeline to other VCs. And we are beginning to see traction. People are saying, okay, we will partner with you. And this fund, we will give you certain things like technical expertise for you to be able to get the fund to where it's going. So that is what we have. And we have kept a lean structure. We said, okay, for the fund manager, we'll get an investment associate in-house. That her job will definitely be just to make sure that this fund works. And so then we have said that
we'll come back to this describing. So Yemi, we're going to come back to you in regards to going into details about the structure of your fund. We want to quickly go to Maya and ask Maya in regards to her, what is your investment thesis, Maya? And are you considering any innovative finance solution? And if so, can you highlight some examples? Because we know Leebase is already very, very innovative. So we want to graduate. We already started with Yemi. What is your investment thesis, Maya?
Right. Thanks, Hannah. So in my case, I'll initially be looking at Ethiopia, which is where I'm originally from, and looking at providing capital to early stage investors that have gone through an accelerator and through that have developed a minimum viable product and already, worked on gaining traction within the market. So they've been de-risked through an accelerator program. What I'm looking to provide to these entrepreneurs is flexible equity, as well as venture debt. So I think Yemi and I may be on the same wavelength on this, because there's definitely an opportunity in terms of providing venture debt for entrepreneurs that have already secured their initial equity investment, but still need funds to be able to accelerate their growth so that they can meet these specific milestones before they go for a second equity raise. The key thing here is providing them with capital that is non-dilutive. So they're essentially securing a loan. But what's innovative here is that these types of loans are amenable for tech companies and also for other entities such as, or other groups such as, young entrepreneurs and women who may not necessarily have the collateral or the track record to be able to access bank debt. So it fills that gap by providing that venture debt on the back of either visibility towards the revenue and towards profitability. So we're pretty much targeting the group of entrepreneurs that are within what they call the valley of death and coming out of it. And that's the acceleration stage where there is a clear line of sight towards profitability. So providing them with debt, whether it be mezzanine debt or subordinated debt, is very conducive to them. With regards to equity, when I say flexible equity, I'm looking at two particular instruments. One is called the SAFE. It stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. And this is an instrument that was actually created by Y Combinator. It's an accelerator out of Silicon Valley, California. And we see quite a number of African entrepreneurs actually joining that incubator, and so we're seeing it beginning to take shape on our continent as well. But essentially what this instrument does is, given the fact that it is very difficult to actually value a young and growing tech company, partly because they don't have that track record to be able to actually do evaluation as you would a more established company, but also because there may not be comparables within the particular market they're in. So what an investor can do at this stage is to agree with the entrepreneur that they'll provide them with equity, and at the stage when they have a price round, which is later on when they do go out to the market to raise equity with a valuation, then the investors in this SAFE instrument would be able to secure preferred shares at a discounted rate, which is agreed upon, and in that way also benefit from that additional risk that they took by supporting this company very early on. On the venture debt side, I'm certainly looking at various different types of instruments. One thing that's actually becoming quite common, particularly working with technology companies or technology-enabled companies, which is what I'm looking at specifically, is revenue financing. So where you have a company that over like a 3 to 6 month period has recurring revenue, and the business model is tested, and you can see a line of sight towards profitability, or at least continue recurring revenue, you're able to provide a level of debt to support that company, both with regards to financing their working capital or growth, acquisition or otherwise, and secure royalty payments. So in essence, you provide that company with debt, and they will in essence pay you based on a percentage of the revenue that they get on a monthly, or you can agree on a quarterly basis, up to the point when the investor will get a return on their investment, ×2 or ×3. So what you do up front is you make an agreement that you're going to invest a certain amount of money in this particular company in the form of debt. And your intent here is to get a return of 2 times or 3 times your investment. So this, contract, so to speak, runs until the investor is able to secure, that full return. So the company, essentially, the benefit for the company is they don't have to worry about a monthly payment as they would with a bank. So, for example, if there's a month where you don't have adequate returns, since you're paying a percentage of your revenue, then you won't have to pay for that particular month. What you do is you pay based on the revenue that you secure. So this is very suitable for a technology company that has a proven business model and that has recurring revenue, whether it be in terms of a subscription or otherwise. And it's proved itself quite well, in various markets in the US and in Canada.
This is really amazing, especially now that a lot of things are online and subscription is how people are going. So I'm just so amazed at how each of you have found different niches to find solutions to what is going on in today's world. And if we now jump over to our third panelist, Libe, as she helps us understand crypto, can you please explain, Libe, there you are. Can you please explain the crypto angle of your fund? Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question, Hannah. Yeah, so I think we've been seeing some really interesting things on the crypto side. And now let me just be mindful. So in terms of what we're looking to do, it's our coin. What we would do is it would be like the Akazi coin. So it would be a special token created for the purpose of basically raising funds from investors to start up this fund, investing in entrepreneurs. So our coin is Akazi coin. It is not in any way related to Bitcoin or to, Ether or to any of the others. So just kind of, having that understanding is that we don't have any, we're not tied to Bitcoin in any way. So it's not that, if Bitcoin goes up, this our coin goes up. It's totally unrelated.
So you
But I
create
think
your
it's,
own coin. So like you're literally
yes.
creating your own cryptocurrency. Your
That's right.
one.
Yes. So we are creating our own coin, which is totally independent and basic. And the reason we think it's an interesting way is we're seeing a move towards a more decentralized world. I think all around the world, you're seeing, just a grassroots movement to where people are saying, we're kind of tired of, governments and big institutions holding the power as to how we can get access to things. So you're seeing such a growth in this more decentralized approach to doing things. And that fits in so interestingly, in this space. So the reason, and also I think in terms of, flexibility and I guess a different approach. It's just such a massive enabler of being able to do that. So as I mentioned, we would go out and so in a very simple way, we go out to the market and we say, okay, Akazi coin is now available for purchase. Any investor who has as little as $100 is now able to buy our coin. So you put your money into the system. It would be open for say a month or 2 months, and then at the end of that period, we would have all the capital pooled. So we would now have this pool of capital that we can then go ahead and start making investments of. In return for the investor, giving us their money, we have what's called a smart contract, which would be issued to them. So this is basically saying, your ownership in Akazi by means of this token, and you hold this token. So you hold it in a safe and secure place. It's not going to be hacked. No one's going to take it away from you because it's not going to be initially on the exchange. You're going to be holding it yourself. But I think what's interesting in terms of doing it this way is we also will have the availability for investors who do need liquidity, say 5 or 6 years down the road, to say, or even tomorrow if they really wanted to. You would have exchanges where this coin could be listed and you're able to find a willing buyer on the other side. Now, the reason we would encourage our token holders to hold on to it for a while is that, we're making investments in early stage companies, right? So we also need to be mindful of the time it takes to really grow these companies and to see some returns coming in. So kind of on a similar tone to what Maya was speaking at, we're looking at doing really simple, safe notes initially, or co-investing with other investors so that we can also have, efficiency in the way we're deploying our capital, so that we're not spending, too much upfront in terms of valuation and all of those things. But yeah, hopefully that kind of gives a good explanation of why crypto.
So Akazi coin, Akazi capital is backed by cash. So it's still cash that is holding your crypto coin currency afloat, right? It's not backed by any other assets, it's backed by cash. Because people
Exactly. It's cash of people that have put it into our system.
interesting. So why are you not trying to attract capital like traditional LPs?
So I think, as the program has shown us, with all the structures that have traditionally been put in place, the reason we're looking at going to the retail market or the crowd is that we think institutional capital is quite frankly very slow, and I think especially for first emerging managers, the amount of work it takes to convince such big institutional players to invest in you, it's just so long. So I think the way we're looking to approach it is we see lots of people who have money that want to have impact with their money, and we think that we need to give these people an opportunity to do so, by ways of investing in our fund. And I think it can be such an amazing demonstration effect of a more grassroots movement, kind of a fund by the people for the people. And we're looking to specifically engage women as our investors, to engage the diaspora community as our investors, as well as millennials and Gen Zs who are more, amenable to this crypto and this alternative style of funding companies. We're seeing some really interesting fund structures in the US as well, with like access funds, where from as little as $1,000 people are able to invest in funds. So I think it's just going to become more and more mainstream, that people are going to look away. I mean, it's obviously, if you have access to institutional investors, by all means go and tap on their doors. But I think from a more realistic point of view, as an emerging manager and as someone who's trying to do things in a different way, we feel going towards the crowd is better for us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Liebe. It's honestly very, very innovative and very commendable. Just really getting your head around the whole crypto and then now using it into this whole complicated fun LP kind of structure. So I definitely want to be staying in touch with you to learn more about that. So we can jump now to Yemi Carey. I have got the documents. I can share my screen so we can talk about it. You shared the 2 documents about the process of the cost in Mauritius. And then you were also talking about your structure. It's so refreshing to see that most of you are, or the 3 of you here, are heavily investing in women. So as I share my screen, Yemi, you can talk more about the structure, and I will open what you sent me right now.
Okay, so what we have done is to keep it lean. Lean in terms of, we are 60 members now. We want to ramp up to about 100, and we want to first of all make sure that this is a fund by for Rising Tide members. We have so a minimum. We have a minimum amount, a flat rate across all of our member investors, and we will have an internal investment manager that would, do all of that. And when we get the technical supports from some of the venture capitals that are now interested, and they're going to give us some support in terms of the core management of the fund, as it were. We are also getting a tool. Yeah, this is what we got. Yeah, if you've seen the slide, this is what we got for $10 million. And by the time we looked at this, we were, it seemed as if we were paying a lot of money up front for the $10 million. And we're also looking at a 7-year period. And for us, that was like, it was just more like, the first phase of your marriage. And we were not sure whether we wanted to get into all of this. Wow. And because of our understanding, and we were struggling with the value we want to bring into the market, and the cost of the value that we are bringing. And we looked at all of this and we said, if we took all of these funds and all of this amount of money and gave it out, then how much are we really going to be investing?
Yeah.
And then, there were estimates that about a certain percentage of the portfolio. Yeah, this was one of the things that scared us the most. It's not clear enough. But you see, all of the monthly takeouts, the percentages, this is from a fund manager. This was how they were going to help us run the fund. Individual LPs would take $10,000. People will do trainings, and for us, it was just too much. And we wanted to keep it simple. All of this is the typical response we got back, because we had to push the fund managers that we're going to engage, that look, give us, where is all of this? Why are we paying the $20-something thousand up front, or 30-something? Let us know what it's all about. And they broke it down like this, and all of the assumptions. And for us, some of the assumptions were hypothetical. it's just that as if, it's what obtains in the institutions of Mauritius, and this is how we are going to do it. This is what has been happening, and it was so traditional to us. So for us to have peace of mind, because we're only just building women's trust in giving you their funds to invest in risky for women. Women are typically risk averse. We're only just getting to that initial area of and getting the trust. And then if we put all of this before them, you won't get anybody to be an angel investor or to want to invest.
And especially
That was what our own.
Lots of money.
Pardon me?
If you're doing something a bit higher, I guess the percentages just go up, isn't it? If you're doing a 1 billion, it's
Yes.
Just the percentages of the wow.
Yes. So it would have been, it would have been okay for $1 billion. But and so now we're going to have a minimum amount tickets across board for all Rising Tide Africa members. We have already started as for our core angel investment bits. That value of debt that Maya was talking about. We've already started and we have traction. And if we look at our valuation of when we invested in some of these portfolios, and now we've seen traction in about 60% of our deals. So we believe that by the time we do this fund, we would be able to then get more attraction. We already started doing cross-border investments. We've invested in Ghana, we've invested in Kenya. And so for us, the cross-border has started. Although it is, we are watching, we won't be able to do it the way we want to do it because of a lot of regulatory guidelines country to country. So we need to understand all of those before we go into investing in those countries. So since we have started having members from other countries apart from Nigeria join Rising Tide, we have begun to understand better the other markets. Okay. South Africa, we have members from South Africa. So we begin to understand. So when we have a deal from there, those members will then take the lead on the deal, and then be able to make us understand the environment and what it can obtain, what can we obtain. I understand exactly what Label is doing because of what she is able to do with her crypto fund. We won't be able to do it. So a lot of the regulatory things, we are going to have to take it on a case-by-case basis. We are pretty much investing in female-owned, female-led, and gender diverse. Yeah. We're tech and tech enabled, and we're looking at the potential that post-revenue and post-profits. Our priority would be high-impact sectors such as health, education, agri, and financial inclusion. And we're looking at a four years, from our initial close in November, and before this investment period will be about 2026. Okay. So that's what we have in our pipeline as at this time. And so we're doing it our own way.
Well done. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so much good insight. And honestly, it's also just good to see a breakdown of what they expect should you go to Mauritius, let alone to a more expensive location in Europe or in America, So, but thanks for that breakdown. It definitely opens our eyes. We've shined our eye, as they say. So I wanted to throw a question back at, I guess, let's go to Maya, as we get ready for our audience. So Maya, we typically hear South Africa because Libe is from there. We typically hear Nigeria. Honestly, from a lot of the candidates who have been talking so far, they have been either from South Africa and Nigeria. So now you are Ethiopian, and honestly, even when you saw that map in one of our courses, we didn't see much in when it comes to, funding, investment coming from Ethiopia. Why? Like, help us understand the reason you're doing this.
Right. That's a great question, Hannah, and thanks for that. Well, in my case, because I'm Ethiopian, it's just easier for me to, establish myself there before I venture into other countries, which I do plan to do. But I do find that there's a huge opportunity in Ethiopia for several reasons. One, the country has lagged behind other African countries in terms of its key digital indicators. So, for example, only 20% of the population has access to the internet, and that's equivalent to the population in the urban area. Also, only 35% of the population has a bank account, and it's only recently that we are actually going to see mobile money coming to Ethiopia. It's thanks to a license that was recently awarded to a Safaricom and Vodacom group that are looking at really focusing on financial inclusion and doing that through an M-Pesa style venture. But the country presents both a challenge as well as an opportunity. So as you can see, Ethiopia has the second largest population in Africa next to Nigeria. So we're sitting at around 150 million people. So when I talk about only 35% of the population having access to a bank account, the unbanked market is just massive. But at the moment, the government has actually made some significant strides in terms of focusing on building out a strategy and a plan to invest in the digital economy. There is a significant investment going into promoting digital literacy. And as you know, recently Ethio Telecom, which was basically a monopoly up until very recently, has offered like a license to a foreign player to come in. So I think with all those factors and accelerators that are entering the country from other parts of the world, most recently Orange, the French telecom, they have established an accelerator in Ethiopia. We're beginning to see significant and more importantly, cohesive strategies and plans to really build out a tech-enabled economy. And I think sometimes, while we may look at a country like Ethiopia and say, oh my God, it's so far behind, where is the opportunity going to come from? You realize that at some point, you realize that innovation is the only way that you're going to leapfrog and, make sure that, financial inclusion is more prominent, and that e-commerce and a lot of things that we take for granted in other parts of the world are accessible within the country. And you do see some fantastic strides. So most recently, the government has actually secured a contract with Cordano. And what they're going to do is to actually utilize blockchain to develop digital identities for all students in Ethiopia. And in that manner, all the records that are related to education are going to be stored, on a blockchain platform. So that just shows you that, while there is significant challenges and on the backside of that, significant opportunities for somebody who's trying to tackle some key areas like financial inclusion, transportation and logistics, given the fact that it's a massive country, and there's a huge opportunity in just moving goods and services from one part of the country to the other. For example, in the southern part of the country, it's very lush. So we have lots of greenery and fruits and vegetables, which, if there was, a solid logistics structures in place, could easily be moved to the northern part of the country to avail, produce in that part. But we just, don't really have that at this point. But you're seeing in the cities, you're seeing just a booming of tech-enabled companies. So you have all these e-logistics companies that are coming up, fantastic e-commerce, ventures that are being developed. So it's early days, which is why I'm taking a very long view at this, and I'm thinking of a 3-year horizon before you can really have a pipeline to finance, through a fund. But at the beginning, the 3 sectors that I'm looking at are fintech, because financial inclusion is a huge opportunity in addition to a challenge, e-health, because there is a massive opportunity to enable, health services to the population through like a digital platform, and also transport and logistics. And that's both within the city. So like, for takeaways or, transporting goods, from one place to another, but also on a larger scale, linking into transporting goods and services across the country. And I do look to expand, outside of Ethiopia, one from a diversification perspective, but also because it creates an opportunity for, the companies in the different countries to actually collaborate as well. So we're seeing a lot of, entrants from Kenya, where there's, 85% of the population is, banked, through M-Pesa, and they're actually coming to Ethiopia to support, building of different types of e-platforms and e-payment platforms as well. So it's all beginning stages. We're just looking at this is what's happening in 2020 and 2021, but I think it's a fantastic trend and a massive country and a population. So, and as much as, companies such as Flutterwave have found an opportunity in Ethiopia, they just recently entered. Paga from Nigeria is also looking at entering the Ethiopian market. I think that there will be a massive opportunity for Ethiopian entrepreneurs and others who are interested in the country, and I'm hopeful that there will be a solid pipeline to finance down the road.
Excellent. I mean, honestly, well done. And I will speak a bit afterwards about something we're doing, that my company's doing with the German government, and Ethiopia is one of the countries. So it's some grant that they're giving to startups early stage, and I guess you can benefit for your clientele. But I'll talk about it generally. Thanks so much. This is amazing. And as we quickly wrap up, I'll give the last question to Libe. So Libe, what inspired you really? Like really give us what inspired you to start Akazi Capital? Because if you're not aware, in Nigeria, for example, the Central Bank of Nigeria is to launch a digital currency. They say before December. So we're all definitely looking forward. And we know Nigeria is quite advanced when it comes to all these blockchain things. So now South Africa, what inspired you? Do you see the Central Bank of South Africa doing something similar, like what the Central Bank of Nigeria is doing? Libe, up to you. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, so the reason I started Akazi Capital is so my life is full of entrepreneurs. So my husband's an entrepreneur, my brother's an entrepreneur. I've been fortunate just to grow up in an environment where I've seen entrepreneurs really tackle some interesting things and actually creating wealth. And when I look at the female entrepreneurs in on the continent, I mean they're working so hard, they're building such amazing businesses. But when you look at the massive funding gap that's facing these entrepreneurs, it's astounding, right? I mean, when you look at the VC space, only 2% going to female, owned business. Like it needs to be corrected. So that's why, similar to Maya, I really believe in the role as women as the role of women as capital allocators to really shift things and make a difference. And so that's why, from with my background and with the networks that we have, I thought we stand at a really interesting point in really changing the narrative in a way, and hopefully inspiring other female, fund managers to do the same. So I think it's just bridging this gap, putting capital in the hands of the entrepreneurs. And we all know that when we invest in women, you don't just invest in that one woman, right? Like the money gets reinvested in the communities, women spend it on, on health and education, on their families. So I think that's really what inspired me to start Akazi Capital and do this. And yeah, I think lots of, people will start catching up. I think what's interesting from government is it's always interesting to hear what their plan is and the lovely story. I'm always really interested to see in the execution and how they actually do things and the time it takes to do it. But yes, I think more and more you're going to see cryptocurrency being accepted. And I think you've seen a lot of countries kind of fighting it, but I think it's just such a big force to reckon with. And I think governments are kind of waking up to the fact that, if you can't fight them, join them, or whatever that expression is, right? So I think they're having to get onto the bandwagon, just because there's such a big demand for it.
And it's exciting with the new Africa Free Trade Zone that was launched 1st of January this year. We're at, the headquarters of the Secretariat is here in Ghana. So in speaking with some of the big wigs, the executive directors there, we are just trying to push them in regards to this whole crypto blockchain because of the trackability, it's traceable. So we can see where the money is when people are trying to be corrupt. But now I'm with your idea. I mean, honestly, I will, once we have another discussion, if you don't mind, I'll bring you in because you have definitely thought of it at a different angle. I was not even thinking of it that far, right? We were just looking at how to track and make sure people are not being corrupt.
Yeah.
But exciting, really exciting how you are taking blockchain. But we have some questions for you. I don't know if Nanga, would you like to ask them or shall I?
You can read my questions out, Hannah. Thanks.
No problem. So for Libe, this is from you from Nanga. Is setting a pilot fund as extensive as starting a normal fund? Apart from testing the concept and start with a smaller fund, is there any other advantage in setting up a pilot fund? This is for you, Libe.
Yes, so great question, Nanga. And we've kind of wrestled with this ourselves. I think in terms of the advantage of doing a pilot fund and doing it the way we're looking at doing it, it's very different from the way, I guess, we see funds traditionally being formed. So the way we're going to be structuring it, we're going to be creating a holdco. So like holding company, and that company is going to be making investments. And it's going to be in terms of the whole LPGP thing. So because we're looking at the crowd, we're really relying on the token and this share of ownership piece in the company to kind of drive those pieces. So the reason we're going with a pilot fund is just to start making investments, to start showing the success of our story, and then using that as a tool to go and raise our fund further down the line. But we're going to be approaching it from a very different way. So even in terms of some of the documentation, it's going to be alternate. It's going to be unconventional in the approach.
Well, I have a second question for you from Nanga. Is
Yep.
What is the difference between issuing the token and issuing a traceable, hence paper, held against the cash invested?
Yeah, so I haven't really looked much into issuing the tradable paper, but in terms of the token, so we are really strong believers that blockchain cryptocurrency is really where the future is going, and so that is why we're doing it. I mean, we're going there just because why would you kind of play in things the way they're currently being done if you're really wanting to be disruptive? And so that's just why. I mean, we have the expertise in creating the smart contracts. We have partners that have issued their own tokens, and so for us, it's really just leveraging what we know and going to market that way. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, happy to take a follow-on question from you, Nanga.
Thanks, Libby. That answers my question.
Great.
Awesome, great questions. Thank you. We have a question here for Maya. It's from Angelique. Angelique, would you like to ask your question? Oh, okay. Maya, is there any other planned utilization of Cardano? I believe that's your initiative, in Ethiopia besides registering students? And she continues to say, is Cardano open to think about providing an investment platform as it is the third or popular crypto asset beside Bitcoin and Ethereum? Oh my God.
Ethereum, sorry, Ethereum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question. So Cardano is actually a blockchain platform, and they actually do have engineers on staff. It's an American company. They do have engineers on staff that can work to develop applications or use cases for blockchain. So the Ethiopian government has actually contracted Cardano as a company to build out a blockchain platform that's to be used within the education system in Ethiopia. The plan here is to, one, develop a digital identity for all the students, because as you know, in many parts of Africa, not everyone has documentation that can support papers, from the government, like whether it be like, birth certificate or anything else, especially within the rural areas where there isn't documentation as to when you were born or, where exactly you live. So having a digital identity will, one, be able to develop that alternative, to an ID or a birth certificate or whatnot, and would also enable individuals to be able to access, services, public services, whether it be, health or education or whatnot. In this particular case, the digital ID will be linked to the student record. So public education is the norm in Ethiopia. There are, some private institutions in Addis, but generally, the population goes through public school, and through that, all the records with regards to the students' performance will be, saved on this blockchain platform, which will make it easier for, educators to do their planning and to also involve, the Ministry of Education with regards to planning, with regards to the education system.
So if I may ask, because, and if you allow just a question linked with the same question. So Cardano is going to create a digital identity for the student at a very early age. So they're going to be able to trace any kind of the activity through that digital identity. That was my question as a follow-up action, because Cardano is really someone who fascinates me. He's a mathematician. His concept is much stronger than Bitcoin and Ethereum. He's really, really amazing person, and is someone who's really tuned toward Africa and trying to see how we can help Africa. And I was most thinking about, even the power of Cardano to help in the IFCFTA, to be able to do operation between different currency very quickly, automatically with a traceability. So I was wondering if in Ethiopia, because it's a proof of concept, being able to register those, I think there were 500,000 students, where they're thinking about another kind of application. So that was my question, more toward financing, because you can earn money through stacking, and you can also earn through that investment platform. That was my question to you. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Angelique, for that question. I appreciate that. So I am not aware of any plans along those lines, but I mean, you do see that blockchain is beginning to be used in African institutions and also in trade systems as well. So I mean, like, I think it was the AFDB, and somebody may correct me if I'm wrong here, but they've actually leveraged blockchain, for an AML KYC process. So I mean, I think there's, as you say, a ton of applications, for blockchain, whether it be in terms of like, public services such as, health and education, but also in terms of, the various platforms to enable trade. So my view and my expectation is that down the road, probably from an AU perspective, we'll probably see more use cases of this and applications within the trade and finance space. But this is just my supposition. So as of right now, I'm not aware of any other plans than the one for education.
Thank you, Maya. Thanks.
Thanks so much. I guess what we'll do is we'll have our 1-2 minute wrap ups, as promised, trying to keep it to an hour. Maybe we'll start with Yemi Carey. If you have just a 1-2 minute, just kind of summarization, any thoughts, notes for us, nuggets of information you might want to share.
My simple thing is this: for those that have not yet started and are looking to start a fund, the ecosystem is changing, and there are different flavors of funds coming up, and there are different ways people are starting to do it, and find something that is comfortable for you to be able to start this initiative, so that it doesn't look so humongous, and all of and make sure you put all of the things that we're learning in this program to define what type of fund you really want to establish. So that's my my word of the day. Yes.
Thank you so much. Libe, any last few words before we wrap up?
Yes, I mean, I think what I would like to say is just, I hope that the use of these kinds of pilot funds can become more normalized, and especially for, emerging fund managers, that we can start testing out these kinds of ideas. I mean, I think the one big thing about, trying to launch a smaller fund is, of course, the fund economics, right? Like you can't go with the traditional 2 and 20 model. But I'm hopeful that, through different innovations, maybe with foundations or other philanthropic capital, kind of supporting GPs with the working capital, access to working capital facilities, that we can really make small funds more accessible to more fund managers. And I think it's just going to prove that, there is so much amazing talent out there, and we need to get the talent actually doing things. But yes, I would just encourage you to, if you can, experiment with us and test with us. And, I'd be more than happy to share our experiences as things come out down the line. But I think it's really important that we kind of create a community, and that, the road to creating a fund can be a very lonely one, similar to entrepreneurship, but it's really with surrounding yourself with mission-driven, mission-aligned people in the space, just encouraging each other and getting us where we want to go. So yes, I'd be happy to engage with any of you down the line.
Thank you so much, Libe. I will definitely be calling and then see how we can liaise, especially with the new free trades as they also looking at other avenues. But it's definitely very innovative as well. Maya, last but not least, could you please share some nuggets of information as we wrap up?
Right. Thanks, Hannah. It's very clear to all of us that there's definitely a huge opportunity in investing in women entrepreneurs, as well as supporting women fund managers. But I also recognize, not least of which through going through this program, that it's not an easy path, and finding the right fund structure or the right model can be a bit tricky. So I think it's great to see that there's so many innovations that are even showcased here on our conversation today. And similar to what Livia said, I think it's great to be open to collaboration, because you never know where the resources that we have on this platform can support one another, whether it be in terms of linking you to the right partner or funder or facilitator or things of that sort. So I'm very hopeful that this group of fantastic women will collaborate with one another and support one another in terms of realizing their goals and supporting women fund managers and women entrepreneurs in Africa. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. And thank you, ladies, for being on the panel. It was such a good way to end our how many weeks of training. Of course, our WhatsApp group still remains, so we'll still be chatting and engaging. It's really an honor. I mean, I feel like I've met so many friends, mentors. It's such a leapfrog effect for me, someone who is looking to get into this space. So God bless you all. And if I can just say for everyone here, and I'll try and mention it later on next week on our platform, anyone here who is in Kenya, Togo, Ethiopia, and Ghana, the German, hence EU government is doing something called a VIDU grant. And I think you can get maximum 10,000 euros, so equivalent in your local currencies. And if anyone has a fund and they have women who just need it's grants, no paying back. I will put information on during the week. Sorry, I just have a bit busy next 2 weeks, but I'll put information on, and then you can learn more about it. You can join some of the Zoom sessions where they talk about this VIDU grant, and it's a great, whether you call it philanthropic angel investment kind of initiative for you to give to your women who just need some initial capital, especially since a lot of people have struggled since Corona, since the pandemic. So a lot of you who are helping women, I'm especially letting you know so that you can, and you're in those 4 countries, those are the countries they're in. We'll be going to Nigeria sometime this summer, but it's also because of what is happening in Nigeria, we might have to take a little bit bit of a break, but you know, as soon as I know, I'll let you know as well when we go to Nigeria. We were hoping to go to Nigeria June, July, but we're kind of seeing what happens. But it's a great initiative, free grant to give to young entrepreneurs, women, whoever. I'm also happy that Yemi, we have women from, I mean, I hope you registered on the Google Drive, that database, because we have women from all over Africa. So as your fund grows across the continent, we're hoping that you can leverage on the backs of all the different women who are, you know, who are here, and, you know, they can help you, support you, as you said, as your local support. And Lieb, as you said, I'll be contacting you. I know you're busy. Oh, sorry, Yemi, you said?
I said, sure.
Yes, I hope you registered on the database. If not, maybe one of your team members, Olanike maybe did, because it's just good access for all these beautiful women. And Lieb, I'll be contacting you. But I'm so impressed to say that when I used to work at Acumen, we invested in Paga, and Paga has been hailed to be one of Nigeria's, or the unicorn. That means is valued at over $1 billion. So that's really, really awesome to know that the company that we invested in when I used to work in Acumen is now, it's fintech, as you call it. It's giving money to the banking, the unbanked, as Maya mentioned. And so there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for us. Thank you, ladies. So as we said, this is actually the last session. And when I say last session, it just means that I am tremendously busy. And from speaking to all the panelists, they all told me they are very busy as well, and they want to enjoy their summer. And so obviously anyone can organize any kind of session. Please, it's open and available for everyone. And of course, once, if I can join, but we've jumped on this particular project, and we also jumped on another UN project as I'm trying to work on my document. But it's been an honor. It's been an honor just engaging with everyone and all the different speakers. God really bless you. I can't wait to celebrate with everyone, the different funds that they're organizing and setting up. Please let us know so we can be praying for you and engaging with you as you go on. I'm happy to get back out and do this maybe monthly or quarterly. Again, I can put a little poll up later on, but I personally need about 2 months to sort a lot of things out, and then I think I can get back to normal. But that does not stop anyone else from doing any kind of activity. So with that said, I just want to say thank you again for being an awesome audience and just great work that you're doing. It really has inspired me, and to know that I can call upon my fellow ladies when I'm stuck somewhere in one of my challenges. Thank you, and God bless you. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and let's stop it.